is.
One two one two one one two one two one two one two one one two 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 one two.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Quarantine with Gean. This is a little adventure. I don't even really know what I'm doing. I just had a bunch of questions, and I just needed to reach out to people and answer some questions. I'm definitely learning from my mistakes. As you can tell, I chopped off my beard here. I feel like I have to address that with everybody I'm talking to. Quarantine hair, don't care. I'm just kind of running with it. I'd never be able to pull off anything like this unless I was locked up at home, and I guess this is the time to do it. Today, this episode I have here, though, man, I have a good friend of mine. His name is Justin. He is a friend that I've been in contact with for many years. He has his own podcast show that he is getting going and started right now. Definitely value his opinion, but I wanted to bring him on to talk about the coronavirus, the pandemic that is going on right now, the stay-at-home order, and everything that's affecting our world currently as we speak, as we're stepping into the first month of our stay-at-home order here in Michigan. So, Justin, what's up, man? Great to have you on, man. How you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Let us know a little bit about yourself, man. What are you about, bro?
Well, I'm just I like to call myself a serial entrepreneur. So basically, I have an insurance agency. I have a limo company. I'm involved in commercial real estate, residential real estate, flipping homes, rental homes, stock market, investments. I mean, anything that can help me make passive income eventually. I'm all about. So that's why, like you said, with my channel, is called Financial Street Smarts, because I'm not, I'm not a book smart guy. I didn't grow up. I grew up in a similar neighborhood as you, blue collar, and just kind of had to make what I had to do. 6 years it took me to graduate high school, no college, and I just kind of learned over the years the importance of finances, managing your money properly, being financially free. And I feel that that's a huge gap in today's educational system, any way you slice or dice it, and just trying to kind of give back to the community. I'm 35 years old. Some might call that young, some might call that older, but either way, I'm in a good spot where I'm at for my age. And I want to try to share the wealth of knowledge with others so they can pursue their dreams.
Absolutely, man. And that was a great self-intro. And Financial Street Smarts is the name of that show that Justin's just getting going with, man. And he's getting a lot of feedback. I enjoy everything that he's putting it out, and he's pretty consistent at it, man. So, Justin, thank you for all that information you're sharing with people, man.
Yeah, no problem.
So, this whole pandemic that we have going on right now, it's unlike anything I've ever seen before. We are ultimately in a global shutdown, and the terminology is all new to us. COVID-19. We weren't talking about COVID-19 3 months ago. I didn't know what a coronavirus was. Social distancing was definitely something I never could consider an actual life that I'm living any longer than a day, or maybe a breakup with a girlfriend or something to that nature, and here we are, and we are quarantining, and where were you when you first heard this terminology, and how did it hit you? What was it? What was your
when I first heard about it? I don't know. I mean, as you know, I like to travel, and I actually went to 2 different trips in this year, in 2020, prior to the shutdown really getting serious. So I'll be honest, I wasn't really taking it too seriously. I was kind of on the whole, it's just a nastier version of the flu, or it's a different strain of the flu. Wash your hands, keep your hands to yourself. I've always been, I'm not necessarily a germaphobe, but I'm a pretty clean cat for the most part. So, I mean, I wash my hands a lot. They get chapped in the wintertime because of it. I take the precautions. My wife is a complete neat freak and total whatever COD, whatever the term is. She
A little
has
OCD.
it,
Yeah.
OCD. She has that, whatever it is. So like, I even told her when things started getting seriously, she's like, "What do I have to do?" I'm like, "You don't have to do nothing. Like, you just keep doing what you're doing." And I didn't really take it that seriously. She did, thankfully, and I guess my initial thought was what it was going to do to business. Obviously, as you personally know, not everyone else does, but I got, my limo business, party buses, limo buses. I just partnered in a few hotels last year. And so, I mean, we've been really hit hard as far as a lot of our businesses. Luckily, though, we've planned accordingly. We have savings. So, I mean, we're going to be fine. I feel way more for those that are living check to check and how things have just gotten shut down. So, I know it's hard to play both sides, but I'm kind of in the camp that, look, staying home looks like it's working, for the most part. But at the same time, what the heck, look, I'm a business owner. I've applied for the PPP loans. I've applied for the disaster SBA relief funds. I've looked into unemployment even because they made different guidelines with the the 1099 or the business owners. I haven't seen squat. I haven't seen nada. I'm not going to get a stimulus check. So I mean, it's been rough. I mean, it's scary with that uncertainty. And I'm unfortunately, I think, even more in the more pessimistic camp, where I don't think things are going to change anytime soon. And ultimately, my overall, and I don't want to freak everyone out, but I think that ultimately we're all just going to end up getting it, unless you choose to stay in your home. Just until they come with a vaccine, which even Bill Gates said is 18 months away. I think we're all going to inevitably get it. And I don't mean that to freak everyone out. I mean, it's like a 2 or 3% chance of something bad happening. But as you said, I know numbers very well. I know compound interest very well. I looked at my wife before we started the breakdown, or the lockdown here in Michigan, and I'm like, my eyes lit up, and she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, I just crunched the numbers, and if we stay at this rate, we're all going to get it by July or August. And that was like, feels like an eternity, man. It's just a few weeks ago, And,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a numbers guy myself, man. And you, in my perspective, you hit it on the nail. That draws me to even ask these questions. What's your perspective? And I appreciate you sharing that, because it does blow my mind. To a certain point that we are in a complete global shutdown. And by all means, first things first, I don't want anyone to necessarily die, but it is a inevitable part of being a human being and having an opportunity to live. You have to die at some point. And I'm not crude. I don't feel the crude emotion when I say this, but the strongest things usually end up living the longest, and they usually end up eating the most, and they end up being the ones that, and I definitely have concern myself, with those things as well, man. With the stay-at-home order, like, what are you doing? What are you doing to manage your time and stay busy and stay entertained?
My wife's making me stay at home, man. So I own an insurance agency, which is deemed essential.
Mm-hmm.
I made it very clear to my staff. I said, look, I go, and I did this before the lockdown even came. We took proper precautions. I shut the front door, would not allow any customers to come in. So at least that way my staff felt a little safer. I have a multi-level office building that I own for that business. And I had one person work from upstairs, the other person work from downstairs. And I told them, I go, look, it's up to you. I'm going to leave it up to you. They chose to work. And I just said, I'm going to come in as much as I can. I'm like, but my wife, like, she wants me to stay. So don't feel like I'm not here for you guys. I'm here if you need. But, my team's some soldiers. I mean, I hired them for a reason. They work with me for a reason. They're like, we got it from here. Like don't even worry about it. Obviously, not every business worked out that way, but with the insurance, it did. And I've been a real big, I feel that before this even happened, I feel that the automation, the technology, the virtual meetings like we're doing right now, I feel that's the future regardless. So I think this pandemic is basically jump started that movement, right? So I think now, regardless of what happens, let's say this stuff is good next month, like the White House is saying and the governor's saying. This is going to change everything regardless, because businesses right now, not saying me personally, but big businesses are saying, well, shoot, we're doing Zoom meetings, we're saving expenses on airfare, we don't have to fly these people out here, and they're already cutting costs. And even if they're not paranoid, because they're still going to be paranoid, what if something like this happens again? We got to take proper precautions. They're thinking to themselves, look how much we're still getting most of the stuff done, and look how much money we're saving. Look how much more efficiently we are running. And I just feel that is even though we were on track that way anyways, is jumpstart this. Social distancing is gonna be a thing. I don't know about you, but I'm a big football guy. I'm a big sports guy. I have no plans to go to a Lions. Even when football season starts back up, I'll be watching it from my TV at home. You could be inviting me to a free game, and I probably wouldn't want to go. I mean, it's a shame, and I'm not trying to like sound like a punk or anything like that, but dude, I have a 1-year-old daughter. I have my wife. Like, it's not just me. So I'm gonna be selfish. Go out drinking beers with you, having fun at the Lions game. Probably be okay. And then take the chance of bringing. Maybe I'm adapted to it, but now they're not. I mean, it's just
Yeah, it's a catch-22, and I think that's the biggest fear that most people have is the uncertainty of what we're dealing with.
Stock market's been doing what it's been doing. That's why I keep telling everyone now's the time to buy.
Absolutely. And I was definitely tapping into that energy as well, man. I've definitely put my fair share of cash into the stock market.
Yeah, because just be careful, because again, the history shows that we might have one of those like double bottoms. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's about a 50-50 chance at this point, but just, be careful, because history shows us that, but it's still a phenomenal time in the long run to get
Absolutely.
in right now.
And that's how I've dissected it on my end. It's a gradual process. I'm not just throwing cash at it. It's usually something that I've studied for, at least a week, to get a good feeling about its trend and what's happening. Yep. And before I make any crazy moves, so it's been a gradual tick, 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 which I feel like is the best method to kind of really truly have a grip on what you're buying and why. So it's making total
follow
sense.
The market. Yeah. As long as you're following the market, you know what I mean? In the long run, you shouldn't. I can't say you won't, but you shouldn't lose.
Absolutely.
Again, it's a great time for long-term investors. It's really a great time for traders. I know. Shoot, I've got a lot of with my 1-year-old daughter, I don't really do as much trading as I did probably like a year ago. But I know a lot of my active traders that are killing it right now, because it's just been so much volatility, one swing or the other. So they've been capitalizing that, and it's unfortunate that it's happened during this time. But just like the financial crisis in 2008, that was a huge opportunity for a lot of real estate investors. And again, it's unfortunate what happens, but this is the world we live in, and you've got to. I feel like there's 3 kinds of people. There's people that are just going to kind of like, curl up in the corner and hide and wait for this to, end. There's other people that are just going to there's the other people are just going to kind of like, do their best to get through it. And then there's other people that are going to capitalize on it. And I'm not saying this is good and oh, great, now it's time to capitalize. I don't think anyone wants this. However, here we are. I know I didn't cause it, but I'm not going to use this as an excuse not to move forward with, providing for my family, providing a future. I mean, I want to be the beginning vote. Like Dame Dash said it best, right? Don't invest in your first name, invest in your last name. And I'm trying to begin that kind of legacy for my family moving forward, as my parents, although they would do it if they could, but they were unable to really, pass down any kind of wealth to me. And I want to start a new trend with I want my daughter to be set. I want her to take those same laws and principles and pass it down to her kids, and so on and so on. I mean, that's ultimately what I want.
Absolutely, man. Generational wealth is the best kind of wealth you can consider at all times, man. Absolutely. And I never heard that quote from Dame Dash. You should invest in your last name, not your first name. That's pretty powerful right there.
It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. So I know you got a big hip hop audience out there. As I do as well. I mean, look, it's not called financial book smarts. It's called financial street smarts.
Absolutely, man.
Don't let the Poindexter look fool you. I came from similar backgrounds and humbling beginnings.
Absolutely, man, and that's why I appreciate you being on the show as well tonight, man. So if we could file it down to a couple of things, what are some of your main concerns, and what are some positive things that you're seeing coming out of this this social distancing, stay at home order, and just the way the world's reacting to this pandemic?
I mean, as you know, I'm a business guy. I'm pro business. I'm capitalistic. I just think this is going to be a huge. My concern is a huge impact on the economy. I just think it's going to be years before any of us, you with your businesses, me with any of my businesses, are going to get back to where we were in January. So me and my wife were sitting there like, hell yeah, 2020 is going to be our year, baby, 2020, and I told her, I go, 2020 is a wash. You know what I mean? Like anything we were expecting to go above and beyond, I'll be happy if January 21, we're at the same spot we were January 20. And that sucks that, we lost that whole year, but I almost want to say that's like a best case scenario there. As far as the positivity, I think, I'm really impressed. I got to tell you, I'm impressed with most people, especially like with my network and the channel. It seems like 2008 and the financial crisis, a lot of people really did learn to save their money better and to not be so lavish. I mean, obviously not everybody. I'm sure we can all think of plenty of people who, aren't and living paycheck to paycheck. But I think this is going to be a very humbling experience. I mean, I'm on the tail end of millennial. I don't know. I think you might be right there too or close to it. But
yeah, I'm on the front end of it.
Right. So yep. Exactly.
Yep.
Right. So I'm a millennial, and I think that for the younger millennials and Gen Z, this kind of can humble them, because as a business owner, I go back to when I worked during the Great Recession, and I was just grateful to have a job. And I mean, I busted my butt every day as much as I could. And with this younger generation, it just seemed kind of like, okay, I've been working in for 3 months. Where's my raise? Okay, I've been working. And like, they didn't do nothing out of the ordinary, just simply out of, what's the term I'm looking for? Out of seniority, they're just entitled to a raise or entitled to additional bonuses or benefits. And I'm not saying you don't deserve that if you earned it and you proved yourself, but don't just come in and do the bare minimum and then just expect simply because you've been around for X amount of time, you're just all of a sudden entitled to raises. So I've gotten a lot of people that are just appreciative, like, man, thank you so much for not laying me off. Thank you so much for trying to go out of your way to, because my people aren't working nearly as hard as they were, and they're still getting paid the same. And that's fine, you know what I'm saying? But so it just seems like I think it's just going to be a humbling experience in general for everybody to appreciate what freedoms we did have, and just this life we have. And again, not to be controversial, but as you know, I think America is the greatest country. I don't care what race you are. I don't care what your background is. I still feel America is the land of opportunity. It's the best country in the world to live in. And I think this will be kind of a reminder of that. And a lot of the capitalists are the ones that are probably more pissed off right and I don't really share their views as much during this event as maybe the other side. As you know, I'm a very rational guy, and I don't just pick one side. I pick the side of reason to me, depending on what the situation is.
Absolutely. And I respectfully understand that as well. There's a lot to this entire program that we're on right now that's new to everybody. What's next is my question, and I think that's, again, the uncertainty that we're all worried about. What is next? And, the economic landslide, they're calling this an economic nuclear bomb. This is going to change the landscape of, the global economy in every dimension. How could it not? We are going to travel differently. We're going to eat differently. I mean, this is something, again, we've never dealt with before. And that's super scary to me. That's where I have the fear, where my questions come into play. And sometimes, I've noted on a few episodes, I ask my questions as if I have the answer. And sometimes I ask my questions because I don't have the answer at all. Sometimes I ask the question because I have the answer. I know the answer, but I want to provoke the thought, but I don't think anybody's always right. I'm definitely not always right, but as we're figuring this all out together, my best thought is to ask as many questions as possible to get as much information as possible so I can make my assessment what to do with it.
Well, keep in mind, this is a very, and hopefully we reach one person to really take this in. But times like this is when new businesses, new thoughts, and new ideas flourish. So I mean, now is the time, like, just like with you doing your podcast, just like with me doing mine. This is when people really get creative, and it really brings out what's best of this country. I mean, there's these are the times. I mean, there are going to be so many millionaires, new money born because of this, and Absolutely. Because of the creative thinking, and they're just going to be forced. I mean, you said it earlier with the virus, but even with the economy, it's gonna. I mean, only the strong survive. It's gonna force the strong to rise up, and it's exciting in a way. I'm just trying to make the most of the situation, and just like with us. I mean, hopefully we'll look back on this and be like, oh wow, look how whack our shows were then, and how much better they are now. Who knows? But it really, for the right person with the right attitude, this is a tremendous opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate your time, man, and coming on the show tonight, man. Are there any other topics or shout outs or mentions you want to mention as we wrap this up?
Well, I mean, look, try your best in a safe way to support your local businesses. Obviously, if you like what I had to say and you want to hear more, check out my Facebook page, my Instagram, Financial Street Smarts. I'm on Snapchat. I also have a YouTube station, and we talk about this kind of stuff all day, more so from the economic standpoint. Everyone would always ask for, donations from a small business, raffle off a free this, raffle off a free that. So try to, remember that, everybody. And maybe, this is kind of our time as the consumer to look out for some of those small businesses that did do so much within our communities.
Absolutely, man. Well, Justin, man, I appreciate you coming to answer a few questions and have a talk on the Quarantine with Gean podcast. And, man, many blessings to you, man, and your family. Hope you guys are staying safe. And during this time, hopefully you can stay as prosperous with your businesses as possible.
I am. I'm not gonna let this stop me, man. I mean, I might be stuck at home, but you can't take away my phone. You can't take away my internet yet. So as long as I got my phone and my internet, man, I'll be here.
And final question before we wrap this up, just in a time frame and scale of things, man. Like, how long do you think this is going to last on a short-term scale? The shortest term that we can think about of the stay-at-home order? What does that look like in your perspective?
Shortest term, of course, is sometime in May. Now, the only downside to that is what I fear is I'm happy for the economy because of that. I'm happy for people to get back to work because, I mean, people are broke. Like, people need money. Like, that's one thing I'm very disappointed in the current administration right now is people need money fast. Like, this is taking way too long. That's a whole other, we could probably do a whole other chat about that. But so I'm thinking next month, but the problem with that is if we flatten the curve and then everyone goes next month, maybe we get a whole new pandemic again. So I guess the best case scenario is next month, and it won't be, hopefully it won't be as much of a shock on the healthcare system, because that's really, in my opinion, you know, what is the worst of it is it's just so much burden on our poor healthcare system. I mean, look, I'll be the first to admit, we have an average 2 beds, not even 2 beds per citizen in this country. We have an average of 2 hospital beds, or I'm sorry, per 1,000 citizens in this country. I about it. So let that number soak in. So, and go ahead, we're very low on the list as far as in developed countries. So I was very disappointed to find out that statistic. And I'm thinking on the latter end, I mean, I don't mean to come up with this wide of a range, but I could think 18 months to 24 months, man. And hopefully it's somewhere in between the 1 month and the 8, you know, so maybe a year, but yeah, I mean, until we get a vaccine or get some actual real treatment, I mean, I don't see how things can go back to normal. And I think people better kind of get used to this social distancing movement, unfortunately, for the foreseeable future.
Yep, absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate your time again, man. I appreciate all your words. I want everybody to make sure they go check out Financial Street Smarts. Great show if you're looking to get a little bit of information, what to do with your money. He's coming from a great beginner standpoint, easy and comprehensive, great information, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, man, to answer a few questions in this during this pandemic time, man. So, you know, I'll talk to you soon, and thanks for listening, everybody.
Yep. All right, thank you.
All right.